Probably one of the most interesting things we did this past winter was upgrade our planter with precision planting parts. So in 2016, we bought a Kinsey 16-row planter. So basically we can plant corn on 8-row 30-inch spacings, or we have the capability of interplanting, which means we can drop down another set of rows and we can plant soybeans or canola on 16 rows with 15-inch spacings. So what we did with our planters, we added V-drive to our planter, which is basically electric motors that replace the chain or mechanical drive on the seeding mechanism on the planter. So that allows us to change our populations on the fly. It gives us the capability of row by row shutoff, so there's no overplanting on headlands or on angled fields. It also has turn compensation with the V-drive as well. So when you're planting corn, spacing is very important. Your corn has to be spaced evenly, and as well as your planting depth. So we also added Delta Force to our planter, which is basically a load cell on each row unit that monitors the pressure of the row unit. So when I set the disc to say a 2-inch depth, if the field is harder or softer, the planter will adjust itself to the proper depth, so that corn seed is always at 2 inches. So corn is a funny plant. You'd think that being the size of that plant and how big it is, that it really is a resilient plant, but it's probably one of the plants out there that is probably the most sensitive to emergence and depth and competition. So when it comes to planting, if those plants don't all emerge within 24 hours of each other, they're basically a weed to its neighbor. So that's the importance of the Delta Force, is that every seed is always planted the proper depth or the same depth depending on field conditions. So that's, to me, really important. And as a corn grower, I think that's probably number one thing, is to make sure that your planting depth is set according to what you want, so that your plants all emerge at the same time. So, and also with the planter is that adding the precision planting parts, we added a 20/20 monitor, which is basically a live feed right to the tractor cab. So as I'm planting, I get a instant report on from my planter. So it's telling me how every row is planting, what the population is of each row, if there's a single or a skip or a double per row. So it's a live update, as opposed to at the end of the day checking your planter report and seeing you had a row not planting correctly. This is a live feed, so you can adjust in the field instantly for what you need. So it's been really interesting to learn from the planter. And with the planter as well, what I wanted to do was be able to take that planter's capabilities and also plant soybeans. I plant all my soybeans on 15-inch spacings with my air drill. So with the planter on 15 inches, we're able to compare a planter at 15-inch beside an air drill at 15-inch. So we were comparing that this year as well, to see what our emergence was and to compare yield. And just get an experience working with a planter, so that I'm able to share my experience as well with agronomists and our farm customers that come through. So it's been really interesting. The other thing we wanted to look at with a planter too was planting canola. There's been a lot of questions about how can I make my planter do more on farm. Equipment isn't cheap right now. Any piece of equipment is very expensive. So if you have a piece of equipment, it's nice to be able to utilize it and use it for more than just, say, planting corn. So that's why we were able to plant, or wanted to plant, soybeans with it, and as well as canola. So we're able to plant 3 different crops with our planter. So what we wanted to compare was, what's our emergence percentage using a planter, a precision planter with canola. So we planted larger strips this year right beside our air drill, and we did plant counts and compared emergence on a planter. This year, being drier, we planted quite a bit deeper than what I wanted to, so that maybe had a bit of an effect on emergence. But our overall emergence with the planter was better than the air drill, but I think I can do better yet. I think this is the first year for the planter, so I'm still learning a lot with the planter. But for 2019, we're going to duplicate a lot of these same trials that we did in 2018, and as well carry it through to 2020. So we'll have 3 years of planter versus air drill comparisons, and then we can average those numbers over 3 years to see what our emergence is. And then hopefully at the end of those 3 years, we can figure out maybe how to fine tune our planter, what our real emergence is, and maybe we can figure out what our real canola population is, because we've learned that canola, being resilient, doesn't like to be overcrowded. So we're trying to figure out maybe if we're getting too many plants per square foot or too little, or what's that perfect number. So we might never really figure that out, but maybe by trying these different planting methods with an air drill and a planter, maybe we can better recommend to our growers and our agronomists, you know, what's our emergence, what are we finding from these different pieces of equipment, and how can we, you know, as agronomists or farmers, get the populations that we're really targeting, and what's our real population we're targeting, and learn better from that.